What does Thermo Alarm 7 mean? This alarm is identified by the manufacturer as green, which indicates that in principle it is not a serious failure. Thermo fault code 7 is related to the speed of the motor that drives the refrigeration system compressor. What to do if the Thermo Alarm 7 problem persists? First, you must check the speed of the alarm. For this you have to focus on the RPM sensor and its connections. The idea is to know if the abnormal speed really exists or is the product of a bad signal from the sensor or its connections. The essential tool to carry out the diagnostic tasks that we are going to explain below is the multimeter. By the way, if you are interested in buying a cheap, good quality multimeter that can perform the checks that we are going to show you in minutes, we have left a link in the description that directs you to a store where you can purchase the equipment that truly you need. Take into account the following recommendations. The continuity of the circuit, which causes the Thermo alarm. 1. You should use a multimeter and disconnect the sensor. 2. Make sure the multimeter is set to measure continuity. 3. Connect the multimeter in continuity mode, usually with a test area with an arrow pointing towards a beep symbol. 4. Use the test leads of the multimeter to touch one of the two terminals where the sensor is connected, and with the other end of the multimeter, touch the terminal of the same cable, but now at its other end, that is, the connection that enters the controller. The idea is to check if the cable has no breaks and there may be continuity in the current. 5. If the multimeter indicates continuity, it will either beep or read 0 ohms, which means the circuit is complete and there are no breaks in the circuit. 6. If the multimeter does not indicate continuity, it will read all or infinity sign infinity, which means there is a break in the circuit and the cause should be sought. Once the connections have been discarded, the sensor can be verified. First, if possible, compare the actual RPM of the engine using a handheld tachometer, with the RPM values displayed on the equipment controller screen. If the tachometer is not available, check the controller for the RPM value it has, noting if the reading is constant and not intermittent. This check is important because many times this code can be generated when the RPM of the diesel engine does not belong to a valid range for a certain time. With the multimeter, when disconnecting the sensor cables, you must measure the continuity of the sensor circuit, that is, rule out that the circuit inside it is open and does not pass the signal to the controller. The operating principle of the inductive revolution sensor used in Thermo models lies in the detection of magnetic variations that develop between the sensor and the motor rotation element. Therefore, when the motor rotates, an alternating type voltage must be generated. Check with the multimeter in the alternating voltage position to see if this type of signal is present. If it is not present, discard the sensor. If the sensor emits signals and its correct operation is verified, then the veracity of the alarm has been verified. That is, the system truly has a different speed than normal. To do, if the problem of abnormal speed of the equipment engine, it really exists. You can follow the following recommendations. Check for the presence of other alarms. There may be a problem with the fuel supply. Check that the speed solenoid plunger is in good condition. Check the fuel system. Check fuel flow. There should be no restriction. Check fuel system prime. Check for air in fuel system. Check the air filter indicator. Check the air filter. It must be clean. Inspect the air intake system hoses and tubes in good condition. Adjust the engine wheelbase setting as necessary. Thanks for joining us. See you in another Thermo Diorama.